that I still haven't done my draft breakdown. So I'll do it now. I'll try remembering my team off the top of my head, and I'll try to go through the draft process. So the it was like a standard draft, right? Like you get one mega, a certain amount of tier one, certain amount of tier two, and then 3 points and all that. But this draft was different. So basically, everyone could pick at any time, and everyone had to wait for each other. So we literally, like, we were all active in the chat for at least like a week straight, right? And a lot of people lost sleep and all that, but it was really fun. I feel like all of us got pretty close through that. Like it's actually my favorite bonding event. I think Matt Harris said his favorite bonding event was the central battles, but yeah, those two are definitely at the top. So let's go into our draft breakdown. And also just some background information. So we've won the past 2 seasons, and this season I'm kind of burnt out. But during the draft, I definitely wasn't burnt out, and I drafted a really good team. So yeah, I think we can still make playoffs just because of the team we have. But this season, after 3 weeks, we haven't been playing too well, but we've been playing okay, and our prep's been okay. But let's go into our team. So I was first pick, right? And I actually did not want to go for the mega that I really, really liked because I want to try something different. But since I was first pick, I really had to go for something that was really good because it's a wheel draft, right? And there's 16 teams. That means my next pick is a while away. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna get my favorite mega. And this mega is even better in Nat Dex. And this is a Nat Dex draft. So we got Mega Lopunny, and Mega Lopunny is just it hits everything neutrally. It's really fast and it has a decent attack stat. But in Nat Dex, yeah, it actually gets like close combat, U-turn, and triple axle. It also gets play rough, but that move's kind of irrelevant when close combat and like some other stuff is hitting really hard. It gets elemental punches just in case I need the coverage. But my favorite Lopunny set that works almost every week is just fake out, quick attack, because that combo is nasty. Return and then close combat. This thing has U-turn, but I really don't have room for U-turn, right? Because a lot of time I could run like power up punch. Dude, imagine this thing got sword stance. Dude, games would be over so quickly. I just set up screens, take like 60% from some random attack, set up a sword stance, and just run through everything. Barring like Scarfers and stuff, obviously, but yeah. So, next, I wanted to get a ground type, and there's this ground type that's really, really, really good, and I haven't actually really used it that much. And I feel like it's really good in draft because I can run it defensively, offensively. It's typing I don't like in draft, but I wanted to use it anyways. So I went with tier one Garchomp. This gives me a stealth rocker. This thing gets a lot of coverage. It can do the sword stance skill shot stuff, or it can be defensive. And yeah, overall Garchomp really good mon. A lot of the time I'm gonna be forced to run Yachi Berry, but overall I really like Garchomp in the fact in draft you want Pokemon that can be offensive, but can also but then you want those offensive Pokemon to fill good defensive roles when possible, right? Because you don't want to play passive in draft. Because passive mons like Quagsire and that kind of stuff, you can easily tech Hidden Power Ice, a few Toxics, and it's really easy to wear it down. But something like Garchomp can be a physical wall, but it can also be a attacker, right? So it puts more threat to the opponent, and I feel like that's really good in draft. And this also gives me an electric immunity. I don't really care that's a dragon type, but yeah. So next, I wanted something that so Mega Lopunny, if you want to switch into Mega Lopunny, you normally want like a really bulky fairy or psychic type, right? So I was thinking about what can I have switch into that kind of stuff, right? And switch in really effectively. So there's this mod in tier 3 that really shouldn't have been in tier 3. I'm pretty sure it was a miss tier. And I was like, I can't pass up on it. Also, it fills this role. So any like random like bulky fairy type like Clefable or something that wants to come in on Lopunny, it'll come in, take a return or something, and I can just switch into Galarian Slowking, take a hit, and then regenerate out. This thing's really good in draft because it gets a lot of different coverage moves. Like it gets a lot. I'm not even gonna state them. You just look through. It gets a ton. It also gets okay setup moves and actually it gets really good setup moves in Calm Mind, Iron Defense. This thing absorbs toxic spikes, but it's also a toxic absorber. And it's a really, really good defensive mon that can still put on offensive pressure through its setup moves or just its coverage, right? And it also gives me future sight passing into Lopunny, which normally won't happen because Galarian Slowking isn't going to give me momentum in terms of like going for a momentum move. But I can easily go for Future Sight, and Future Sight plus a neutral hit from Lopunny is going to do so much to everything, right? Because the only thing that Future Sight is immune to is Dark and then Steel Resist, and there's probably another one like Psychic. But even that, So I can just click close combat and they switch in their dark type. Lopunny is basically going to claim kills off of Future Sight. But this thing can also run some really other like random really cool sets. Like I can run Life Orb with Trick Room, go for like a few attacks in Trick Room, and then regenerate out and be able to do it again. So yeah, overall really good mod. And this is a steal from tier 3. So I'll actually write out the like category I got this from. So this is a Mega, this is a tier 1, and this is a tier 3. So next I wanted to go with, I don't remember. Oh, I wanted to go with Tornadus Therian, right? But then Jamie sniped it, so I was like, okay, what other defogger can I get, right? Because I wanted Tornadus Therian because I can set up Nasty Plot, so it puts on offensive pressure, but it's also a decent defogger, and it gives you a regenerator core with like knockoff U-turn. But I had to go for a different defogger. So I went with the defogger that's really consistent and defensively pairs really well with Galarian Slowking and also pairs pretty well with Garchomp. And this is Rotom Wash. This thing's only weakness is grass. It's just a really good mod. It can pivot. It can get me switches into Lopunny to break. I can run a break in Garchomp. Like a Garchomp, this is a Garchomp that's designed to wall break and do that. But also in draft, Rotom Wash can run like Hidden Power and that kind of stuff. It's a really good default. Gets Pain Split, so it gets decent recovery. And this thing gets Nasty Plot. I wouldn't run Nasty Plot, but you know, it still gets it. And then it gets Dual Screens, which can be really good to set up Garchomp. So yeah. If I get another defogger later on in the draft, then I can run the dual screens on this and then run defog on something else, which we do get a pretty good defogger later on, which is I can bring to game. So this is our tier 2. Then, you know, a defensive mon will like complete this Galarian Slowking Rotom Wash, and then the third mon as a defensive mon will complete the core. It was a perfect defensive mon that can put on somewhat offensive pressure, but also provide really good utility for the team, right? Because if you want Mega Lopunny to function, you want to be able to knock off Choice Scarfs, Rocky Helmets, and that kind of stuff, right? And there's this defensive Pokemon that would have done it perfectly, and it was Tangrowth. So then I have a really good Regenerator core. Like the defensive core of Galarian Slowking, Rotom Wash, and Tangrowth, and then having Garchomp as this electric immunity is really, really good. Right? But Tangrowth got sniped, and it got sniped by Jamie, and Jamie just played Rillaboom. Like, I was absolutely shocked, right? Because I was in the chat, and Jamie's like, I think I know what you're going for, and he wanted to take it, and I was just like, oh my god. Wait, because I was like, there's no way he's taking Tangrowth, right? But he ended up taking Tangrowth, and he had Rillaboom. Which you might be like, why does he have two grass types? They actually synergize pretty well. They synergize okay, right? Because Tangrowth's defensive and Rillaboom's offensive, and they can kind of support each other, but it's whatever. So instead of getting, so then I got sniped of Tangrowth. So instead, I went with something else, and this was Greninja. Oh wait, I got sniped at Tangrowth after Greninja, right? Because I was on the wheel, right? This is my first pick, and then I got 2 picks on the wheel, and then I got 2 picks. So my next pick was sniped by Tangrowth. Do you see? Like, I don't really remember that much, but I'm trying. So Greninja's fast. So I have Stealth Rocks here. This thing gives me spikes and toxic spikes. It's only Torrent Greninja, so I can't run Protean or Battle Bond. Battle Bond was a tier 1, and then Protean was banned. But then tier 3 had a Torrent Greninja. I feel like this was a steal, because first of all, this thing has so much speed, and it has so much coverage to the point where, like, its attacking stats are pretty bad. They're not bad, they're okay, right? But since this thing has so much coverage and so much, like, versatility in its moves, it can hit a lot of things that are super effective, and you can pretty much build a good set for any game. This thing also gets Water Shuriken, which I really like priority moves. It gives me U-turn, it gives me a lot of different coverage. Overall, really, really, really good mon. Greninja, and look at my team, it's pretty fast now, right? I hit the 135, I hit like, what's this? Oh, I hit 102, I have 122, right? And then I have something really slow, and then I have something in the middle tier. Because again, speed tiers in draft are so important, because you don't want someone to run offensive nature on you for free. Because damage is important. So this was the pick that I got sniped of Tangrowth, right? So I was like, what do I do, right? And I decided to start spending my free points, right? Wait, I'm still confused. You get 2 tier 1s, right? No, you get 1 tier 1, 1 tier 2, 2 tier 3s, 2 tier 4s, 1 tier 5, and then 4 free. Wait, does that make sense? I don't remember, but I used 2 free points, right? And this was on the wheel. So since I got sniped of Tangrowth, I decided to go with something more offensive, and you might be like, these two Pokemon really synergize well with the team and fit perfectly. These are also Pokemon that normally would go like round 2 or 3 in my opinion. Actually, not the second one, but the first one definitely. And On the wheel, I ended up going with Victini first, which again, now I have the fire type, which synergizes really well with the team. And now I can pass future sights through Victini. And the next mon synergizes perfectly. And it was, I'm going to cancel Greninja from here, and it was actually Tapu. Actually, I'll create a new one. It was Tapu Bulu. But okay, so Torrent Gren, uh, this is tier 3, right? Yeah, so we used our tier 3. This is 180 points out of 400, and then let's do this. Doesn't matter. Tapu Bulu. And Tapu Bulu, this was from tier 2 and it was 120 points. Now Tapu Bulu, it really doesn't serve that good of a defensive role in draft simply because you can tech Hidden Power Poison. It's more of an offensive mod, but I was like, if I lost my defensive grass type, I can make up for it as in an offensive grass type, right? Because it's draft, and Tapu Bulu is so good. This thing through Crown Tundra got a lot of cool moves like Close Combat, Darkest Lariat. It also got stored power, so I can run the Calm Mindset. Overall, a really, really nasty Pokemon. It gets dual screens too, but the best set, in my opinion, is just Swords Dance and then Wall Break, and if you wall break down like physical walls with Tapu Bulu, then Lopunny can come in and clean. So I felt like that was good. Also, the Grassy Surge allows me to run Grassy Seed on something if I want to. Like, I can run Grassy Seed, Galarian Slowking with Calm Mind and try to set up and sweep if I see an opportunity. So yeah. And also, Victini allows me to pass Future Sights into Tapu Bulu and Lopunny now, and even Garchomp. So yeah. Because Victini can run Heavy Duty Boots with, this is a really good set. If you ever want to play on the ladder, this is a very, very good Victini set. Run U-turn for momentum and then just future set. So if they switch in like their Tyranitar, like this is when Tyranitar doesn't have Pursuit because you're trying to play Gen 8. I mean, the draft is going to be Natdex, but which has Pursuit. But I'm just talking about if there wasn't Pursuit, you can if they switch into Tyranitar, you can easily go for Future Sight on their switch into Tyranitar, U-turn out into something else, and then put on an immense amount of pressure. So yeah, overall, Victini's looking to be really good. And Victini synergizes super well with Mega Lopunny because Victini can break through whatever Mega Lopunny can't, right? Because those bulky Fairy Psychic types, they're going to take a ton from V-Create. And the thing about Victini and Draft is you can run Special too, and Special Threat is very threatening. And then Tapu Bulu synergizes perfectly because it kind of eliminates the ground weakness. Not really, right? Because everyone's going to run High Horsepower and not Earthquake, but it's still really, really good switch into ground types. So yeah. And then next, I wanted to get some. So for my lower tiers, I didn't want to pick anything useless. I wanted to pick something that fills a very specific role and will come to games if I need it. So I wanted to get more hazard removal, right? Because Rotom's my only hazard removal. So I went with an offensive hazard removal in Honchkrow. Now Honchkrow gets Defog, but it also has Moxie. It has Sucker Punch. It gives me Pursuit. And again, in this gen, you can run Heavy Duty Boots with Roost, Defog, and then 2 attacks, right? This thing can be special or mixed with like through Nasty Plot. It gets Hidden Power. Overall, it's just a really, really good mod. Like Honchkrow is threatening. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say about Honchkrow, right? It gives me an offensive defogger, so yeah. And then next I went for another defogger. I wanted a good ice type. I actually used this last season. I won the championship with it, and it's a Cryogonal. So Cryogonal fills it's from tier 5. Cryogonal fills a very specific role. It's a very good special wall. Like, look at his stats, really good. It gives me Rapid Spin and Defog, so I can choose which one. Most of the time it's Defog. I can run Heavy Duty Boots. This thing gets Reliable Recover and Recover. Freeze Dry. It gives me a knockoff user. So say I want to just run Cryogonal as a specially defensive mon, and then run Defog Rotom. I can run knockoff on this. So yeah, overall, I finally have a knockoff user. I feel like that's really important. And then next, I wanted, so I already have 2 Psychic types, right? That means my Ghost and Dark weaknesses kind of met, right? Because Lopunny doesn't want to switch into that kind of stuff. And really Greninja doesn't either. And Tapu Bulu, you can easily tech like a Hidden Power Poison or a Poison move. And Honchkrow isn't that defensive. But I was thinking about roles, right? And I wanted to fill a defensive role in my next mon because I had so much offense on my team. And there was a Pokemon that fills a very specific defensive role. And it's really, really good. And this also gives me a Toxic Spikes user. And it was a tier 4 Clefagrigus. Now, I don't know if this used my free points, but all I remember is that... Actually, no, this was free points, right? So let's put 60 points. Yeah, because it was from tier 4. Now, this thing gives me a very... First of all, it gives me a Rapid Spin immunity, which really doesn't matter in this gen. But it gives me Toxic Spikes, it gives me Knockoff, and it gives me a defensive Mon with Paint Split. Again, a very, very physically defensive Mon that can take down a lot of setup sweepers through just Haze, Will-O-Wisp, and that kind of stuff. So overall, Cofagrigus is looking to fill a very important role. This thing also has Nasty Plot, Trick Room, and it gets Calm Mind, so it can do some setup, but like overall, I wouldn't be setting up with Cofagrigus. It's just going to be a defensive Mon. And again, I have three pretty important Pokemon, Victini, Cofagrigus, and Galarian Slowking. All share a weakness to Ghost and Dark, but they all don't have to come to the same game, right? Like this is draft. You have 12. You have I think 11 Mons. Yeah, 11 Mons. You don't have to bring all of them. Yeah, actually, you can't bring all of them. So yeah. And then last, I had no idea what to pick. So I just picked Piplup because I literally had no idea. And obviously, there's a few like weaknesses in my team, so I was like, well, I try to cover it, but I was too lazy to think about. I was like, it was a really, really long draft, so I was kind of tired. So at least Piplup gives me another Stealth Rocks user, right? Because I only have one, but like, really, it doesn't matter. Like Garchomp is such a good Stealth Rocks user to the point where I can just put Stealth Rock Sword Stamps 2 attacks, and Garchomp will be really good. Because the thing about Garchomp is so predictable that I have to bring Stealth Rocks Garchomp, but then Mon is so good as a Stealth Rock setter and an offensive Mon to the point where it really doesn't matter if my opponents know, right? Like, I have one Stealth Rocks user, but Garchomp's by far the best than anything I can get from Tier 5. So I really feel like that's not a weakness that I have one Stealth Rockers. And also in draft, Spikes and Toxic Spikes are really useful too, right? Like, I have more hazards. It's not like Stealth Rock's my only hazard. And I have so much offense to the point where it's not like I need hazards to weaken stuff that much. So yeah, I picked Piplup. This was a Tier 5. And then in week 2, I ended up making a transaction. I traded Piplup. I didn't trade. No, I made a free agent for Shedinja. Honestly, I didn't know what to do, so I just picked Shedinja. Another Pokemon weak to whatever. It's Ghost and Dark, right? Well, I thought Shedinja was cool, because in prep it forces your opponent to carry super effective moves for it. I feel like it's really annoying to prep for, because I had to prep for it in quarterfinals against Chris Allen in the last season. It was really annoying to prep for. Luckily, he didn't bring it, because the first practice match I did against Chris Allen Shedinja, I just got swept by Swords Dance Agility, like completely. My team just got destroyed. So yeah, Shedinja's just really annoying, and I didn't want anyone else to have it, and I had Piplup, so I was like, might as well make the transaction. Also, I brought Shedinja to week 2 for a very specific reason. So Tapu Lele, my opponent, Steven, had to bring Choice Scarf Tapu Lele to take on Megalopoly because that was his only offensive check to it. And with Shedinja, Galarian Slowking, and Megalopoly, Tapu Lele is basically walled if I have those 3 alive. Then in the end, I decided to do some funky stuff, trying to set up 2 agilities because he only had a Blastoise which was weakened, and then Tapu Lele left. So I tried setting up 2 agilities, but I ended up missing a Poltergeist, and I got some Parahacks and ended up losing. But Shedinja's a cool Mon. Hopefully I can get a Shedinja sweep later on. Also, I'll probably be going over my battles. So yeah, that week 2 was really entertaining. It was a really good battle. So yeah. But overall, this thing is just there to annoy people in prep, and yeah. So overall, we drafted a really, really good team. But I'm not that motivated to do well this season, so let's see if I can bring some funky stuff. It's kind of hard to create some funky stuff out of these Mons, because they're pretty basic and pretty good, but we'll see what I can do, right? I'm pretty sure I can create some cool stuff with Honchkrow. I can do like the Stored Power, Calm Mind, Tapu Bulu. So yeah, I can do like some screen setup with Cofagrigus, Weakness Policy, or whatever. But like, let's see. The season's gonna be pretty fun. So yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoy my team breakdown. It was kind of just all over the place, but hopefully it was entertaining. I don't feel like I explained stuff well, but these picks were pretty specific. I think the most important picks were when I had Megalopoly, Garchomp, Galarian Slowking, Greninja, and Rotom Wash, and then I got sniped of Tangrowth, and I ended up taking Victini and Tapu Bulu in round 6 and 7. I thought that was pretty epic, right? Because those monsters are so offensive. They synergize so well together, and they synergize so well with the team. And I ended up getting 6th and 7th after being sniped of something that I really, really, really wanted. I thought that was pretty epic. So yeah, overall, good draft. And let's see how this season goes. There's a lot of really, really good battlers. I think 16 people, top 8 make playoffs, so it should be doable, but let's see. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.